let's go to something that we didn't look at last week, but we need to take a look at now, and let's look at some leaf spot problems. If that's all right with you, Stephen. Leaf spots are fungus problems that that infect the plant, and generally a fungus will be either specific to a plant or a group of closely related plants. This is a fungus problem on rhododendron, and this is a fungus problem on crab apples and apples. This one's called scab. This one's called septoria ring spot. You can see the ring of purple around the dead problem. And when you have leaf spot, you generally have a plant that for some reason is weak and is susceptible to its antagonist. But you also have something that you have to think about. Fungus, and keeping fungus away is preventing it from being able to attach to the plant cells. So when I look at this fungus problem, I can see that it's already infected. I can't fix that any more than the plant can fix that. The plant will just keep growing until there's not enough leaf tissue there to make it worth the plant's while, and then it'll drop that leaf. But those fungus are sporulating, creating spores that are creating more fungus. There's some developing crusty on that part right there. So if you know you have a fungus problem, then A, make the plant more healthy so it can fight off its own fungus. B, next year, earlier than now when you're seeing the fungus, use a fungicide to protect the leaves. And that fungicide can be, there are a number of different things that are fungicides. They're all pesticides, they're all chemical, but they work in different ways. Wilt proof, for instance, is a anti-desiccant, keeps plants from drying out in the wintertime. You can use wilt proof as a protection against fungus because it forms a waxy barrier on the leaf. You can use baking soda because it makes the leaf too alkaline for the fungus problems. So this goat's beard, you can see spots on the leaves. It's a new goat's beard put in during the dry, hot period that we had earlier in the year. It was a 2-week drought, and it set it up for a problem. So next year we're going to watch, but probably it's going to be healthy.
Be healthier next year. Yep.
Some spots, this one is probably a rust, and rust, like many plant problems, many insects and many diseases, is named for what it looks like. Rusts are generally orange, and generally on the underside of the leaf you see more orange than on the top of the leaf. And rusts are complex fungi that have more than one host. So you might find out after you look it up, after you search for, in this case it's a cherry. So I would put cherry or prunus into my search on Google, and I would put spots, orange, and I might put light colored ring. And then I would look it up and it would tell me what kind of fungus this is, what kind of rust fungus this is, and tell me that the alternate host is a juniper. And so I would be watching the juniper also for where this rust lives over the winter time. And in the springtime, when I see the orange pustules forming on the juniper, and they are unmistakable.
You can't miss them.
That's when you need to say, okay, now I need to protect my tree.
Yeah.
And generally on the underside, so the underside of the leaf, just like a mushroom produces spores, mushroom being fungus, see the little teeny tiny mushrooms forming on the underside of the leaf. You can tell it's a rust fight, that kind of thing. And that's rust on hawthorn, which also it shares its fungus goes between with cedars, with red cedar, the Juniper virginiana, and those are the unmistakable signs of rust on the juniper in the springtime. There they are. Spores are flying around now from the juniper. Protect the hawthorn, or get rid of the juniper.
Or get rid of the juniper or the hawthorn.
Yeah, but more important to think about leaf spots as being something that plants don't normally have to deal with or can handle on their own. This is Queen of the Prairie, Filipendula rubra, which we love for this gorgeous flower. I saw a picture of this flower in a book called Color in the Garden. I think it's the name of it.
Yeah.
And I said, whatever that is, we have to have it. Well, it's a wetland plant. We shouldn't be growing it in our dry garden now.
We're pretty dry here, sandy and dry.
But out of sentiment, I put it in a place where I hoped that the downspout emptying into the area would keep it wetter, and it doesn't. And I look every year and say, no, it looks bad. And people tell me, oh yeah, that Filipendula, it looks bad and it runs around in the garden like a crazy thing. Not if it's wet. If it's wet, if it's growing in a rain garden, if it's growing by a leaky
like
hose,
Mm.
it does not look bad, and the leaves don't die back after it grows. So think first weak plant when you look at your rhododendron and go, why? This is rhododendron leaf spot. It's not a rust, it's a leaf spot. And it not only gets on the leaf, but can you see that the stem is
That's a
discolored
canker
back
on
there?
the stem.
And that stem got infected when it was like this, when it was green. But that fungus remained in the stem as it became a woody stem, and every year forms a place where the cambium is dead and it gets sunken and forms a canker. That's what it's called, where there's a fungus infection. When I see something like that, I think, okay, not only does it have leaf spot this year, but it's had leaf spot for several years.
Several.
And it's an ongoing problem. Can we look at moving this to a different site? Can we take, in rhododendron's case, can we take the ground cover away from it? Don't grow pachysandra underneath your rhododendrons. They don't like to compete with other plants. Can I fix things to make this rhododendron happier here, rather than start working on putting myself forever into the loop of putting a fungicide on the plant all the time? Because it happens. This is oakleaf hydrangea. And this is oakleaf hydrangea is growing in the sun. And there is a septoria type leaf spot that it gets. A lot of the septorias are purple and attach themselves close to the veins first. This oakleaf hydrangea is growing in the sun. It blooms well, it pleases the owner, it turns a little bit of fall color. But it starts out with good foliage and then they go bad as they open up. And you can see that the stem is curling over at the top. The new growth curling over, it's infecting itself, right? So it's not growing well from the new shoots even. If you want to not have to deal with that, here's an oakleaf hydrangea growing in the shade, same day.
Same day.
The leaf is 3 times as big. The flower, the leaf is clean, there's no leaf spot on it. It doesn't bloom as heavily.
No.
Nor does it turn as nice a color in the fall because it's not out in the sun. And you, the gardener, make that choice.
Yeah. A really nice oakleaf hydrangea that's large in the shade. You know, with maybe 20 blooms on it is spectacular.
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 They can be
plant.
10 feet tall. Even the
Yeah.
dwarf ones
They can be
4 to
10 by
5 feet
10.
tall. Yeah. Okay, so that's leaf spots. If you've got spots on your leaves, and I don't know that we have questions about that, but we didn't cover that last week, and we wanted to make sure that we did talk about spots that happen on the leaves.